Hi everyone, this is Heidi Hancock with Double Magenta Intuitive Energy Healing, and this is the energy report and meditation for October. So when I first tuned into the energy for October last week, it was so heavy that I didn't really know what to do with it or how to process it. And then came the testimony of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, and it all kind of popped into place. There is a way that we have been taught to remain small, remain silent, especially women and minorities, taught to ignore and not notice the transgressions against us so that they can continue to happen. And we are at the end of that road right now. We are done. And we're beginning to take back our power, reassert ourselves, and shift the way that we go forward. So, of course, it brings up a whole lot of things. One is trauma, all of the transgressions that have happened up to now that we need to deal with. So we need to hold space for that, and we need to allow it to transmute and shift into compassion and love for ourselves. Use it as information for going forward, how to move in the world in a different way. And really important in this transition is to take all of these internalized traumas, fears, messages about the way that we show up and move in the world, and to shift those into something else. So the way that we have to do that is to bring it up out of our body energetically, and we have to make it real. So just the way that with Dr. Ford's testimony, she brought her internalized, very buried, very old trauma up to the surface, and in doing so made it real for herself and for all of us. So we are all also way showers for each other as we do this. So we are going to work in the meditation this month with some of that transmutation energy and how to let go of some of the traumas, honor the experience within ourselves, and then transmute that back to compassion for ourselves, and use that energy for fierce boundary making in the future, fierce compassion for ourselves and for others. So if you're familiar with Kuan Yin, she's the goddess of compassion. She's known by many names, Kanzeon, Avalokiteshvara, many different names, but what's important and interesting about her is that she's often depicted with many faces. And the reason for that is that compassion has many faces. It can be fierce. Sometimes it's the warrior. Sometimes it's the lover. And so with that energy, and the reason that I bring that up is to acknowledge that compassion comes in many faces, in many forces, in many forms. And so when you're moving through this transmutation, sometimes the transgressions that happen against us, our response and our alchemical process with that is to bring them up and out of us. And sometimes they may be in the form of tears. Sometimes they may be in the form of drawing a fierce boundary. Sometimes they may be in the form of, bittersweet love for ourselves and honoring what has happened to us. So why don't we move into the meditation, and I'll kind of guide you through this. One thing to note is we're going to be walking through and working with sending some of this trauma and this emotional sludge that's sort of coming up now. We're going to be giving some of that to the earth, and the earth loves to take our pain and suffering. And that may sound odd if you've never heard the concept like that, but when we move into the meditation, you'll start to see what I'm talking about, and then we'll work on transmuting that energy and bringing it up and out. Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes and come to a comfortable seat or lying down. And let's just take a couple inhales and exhales together. So inhaling through the nose, all the way down to the belly, and exhaling out the mouth. And allow the exhale to be audible so that you can really feel the energy move. Inhaling again through the nose, and exhaling out the mouth. And one more time, inhaling and exhaling. So allow your energies to settle. Feel the seat or the surface underneath or behind you. Notice your bones. Feeling deeply rooted and anchored within yourself. So I'd like you to conjure up an image, a situation, a transgression, someone you may have a challenging time with. And imagine that in the mind's eye. And there's a shift that we need to make right now. Calling in not just the physical eye, the physical image of what we see, but also bringing in the intuitive eye that's able to pick up on all the subtleties, on all the digs, the ways that we are treated that are unjust, lacking compassion. And very often those are things that are felt and they aren't physically seen. So we can have a harder time noticing them and validating them as real. So get in touch with that intuitive sense as well, the third eye at the forehead right between the eyebrows. Notice that there's a difference between the physical sight and the intuitive sight. And allow the image or the emotion or whatever is coming up with that situation to move through that forehead, third eye space, back to the spine, and begin moving down the spine, past the throat, past the heart, past the solar plexus, the belly, the root, the hips, the thighs, the knees, the calves, out the feet, and down into the earth, into the soil, the tree roots, the rocks, the minerals, the lava, the crystals, moving all the way down till you reach the core of the earth, and then stepping into the core of the earth. And as you do that, feel the fierce compassion that Mother Earth has for you. The way she swoops us up and holds us in her arms. She welcomes all of our pain and suffering. And just allow the emotions of that situation or that event to dump out of you right into Mother Earth's arms. And let her take it as she so willingly does. And just allow it to purify out of you. Sending it out through your feet. And just be with that for a moment. And if any emotions come up around that, just let it move through you. Shedding, shedding, shedding. And notice that no matter how big this emotion is, no matter how much energy you have to let go of, Mother Earth will always widen her scope to take in whatever you need to let go of. And just be with that for a moment longer. And if you need more time with this, you can always do this meditation again on your own. It can be a great thing to do in the bath with some Epsom salts. You can let go of all that energy down the drain. And as that begins to filter out, give your thanks to Mother Earth for holding this space for you. And say goodbye to her as we shift our attention to moving back up through the layers of the earth, the rocks, the minerals, the crystal, the roots, the soil, back up into our feet, into our calves, our knees, our thighs, our hips, our belly, our solar plexus. And then let your awareness stop there at your heart. And let your heart act as a washing machine to purify out any residual feelings. Let the heart allow your narrative to shift so that you can change your story, both for yourself and your external story. And notice as that shifts, if you begin to feel a pressure on your throat, we have a natural orientation to share what is on our hearts, out our throats. And we want to make that story, that experience, that transition real by bringing it out into the world and speaking it. So that may be speaking it directly to the person that you brought in at the beginning. It may be speaking about it to a trusted companion. It may be writing it in a journal, talking to a therapist. Anything to bring it up and out into the world and make it real so that it's no longer buried within you. So allow that energy to move up your chest and out your throat. And then then take that energy and do something with it, writing it in a journal. Again, talking to a friend, allowing it to be real for you. And if it feels ungrounded to have it out, right now you can bring it back in and let it stay within your heart for the time being until you have the moment to write or share. And then bring your awareness back into your physical body, moving your fingers and toes, coming back to your breath. Notice the seat beneath you or behind you, and begin to slowly open your eyes. So I know the energies this month are rather intense. And so allow yourself to go through this meditation several times if you need to. Like I said, you can do it in a bath with salt water, is really nice. And more than anything, allow the movement of this energy to make real the feelings and experiences that you have had. We have been taught for so long to ignore our feelings and our response to things as they come up naturally, and we need to let go of that pattern. We need to honor and make real those feelings for ourselves, because they're information. They let us know when boundaries have been crossed. And they allow us to make shifts and changes in how we do things, who we come in contact with, and who we relate with and to. So more than anything, have compassion for yourself this month and allow yourself the space to move through this energy that's coming up and out. It is definitely a changing of the guard, and there's going to be some fierce movement forward. So thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you well for the rest of this month. Namaste.